so much stuff floating around. I don't know. People trying to say they wasn't together.
Basically was trying to get into a threesome.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Kay and Manny. It is such a pleasure that you are here with us today. And in this month of January, we are doing the PowerCouple Series. Today, we have the lovely Miss Diann Antley and Thomas Jones. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, this dynamic couple. So Mr. Tom Jones is a huge advocate in the community. He loves doing community things. Miss Diann Antley is a certified divorce coach. And it's such a pleasure just to have these two together with us today. So Manny, please open up with the first question you want to ask this duo dynamic couple.
All right. I'm definitely going to ask these questions because, I want to get to know them just as much as everybody else does. So tell us, and spare no details. Please don't.
Okay.
How did y'all meet? And how long y'all been together?
Wow. That's interesting because actually, when we first met, or when I probably laid eyes on her, and I probably shouldn't have did at that time, but it was at NAACP Gala when I had first seen her. That kind of got my attention at that point. Just looking at her, though, she seemed to be a woman that I thought was serious about being who she is. And I knew that if I was able to even talk to her, that I had to be man enough and transparent enough to be able to come to her to say, I'm interested. That did happen a couple of years later. And to be honest with you, when it happened, I would say really it probably was an act of God, to be honest with you, because when I went to meet up with her, I had no intentions in my mind to ask her out, to dinner. I got there and she was writing out some information and something just hit me and said, ask her out to dinner, Tom. And she accepted, and we went from there.
So y'all didn't really approach her right off the bat. You waited a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So why so long?
Well, I was married at the time, and I knew that it wasn't right for me to do something like that at the moment. So I was man enough, and I was, true to the marriage at that time, that I wasn't going to step out of bounds.
Right.
Which worked well for me because I wasn't going to let him step out of bounds.
And that's a good thing. That shows a lot about your character, Miss Diann. And I was going to say one thing that I'm hearing as Tom is speaking is like, even though you didn't approach you in a relationship, you kind of still have a foundation of a friendship, which is great to have because when it's time to enter the relationship, it's like we have the foundation already, the friendship. And that kind of happened with Manny and I. We had a friendship for 2 years before we even interject. And it's kind of like you said, Tom, I didn't even have it in my mind for us to go nowhere. We was just friends. And it's like, it just happened. So I love when things just happen naturally like that. And like you said, sometimes it's just an act of God and it's just the timing. I think timing plays a big role in everything.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And how long have you two been together?
It's been now we're going on almost a year and a half.
That's wonderful. And how so far within that year and a half, how has that been?
It's been interesting, a learning process. I would say each and every moment we spend together, that kind of validates that we can go further into the relationship.
That's a good thing. That's a wonderful thing. And talking about that you can go further into the relationship, Tom, can I ask you, what qualities do you like in the Miss Diann?
Oh, I guess I got to open the window for this one.
Yes.
Well, no, pretty much like I was trying to explain at the beginning, the qualities was that she was, she's, what I seen in her and what I see now in her, she's a serious-minded woman that's serious about her business, taking care of her daily activities and looking to grow. Okay, and what I like about it is that we're able to really confine in each other with what the things that we're doing. But she's ambitious, and she's looking to really be engaged in her business, which I really support. But, those qualities, most women really don't possess. They seem to want to possess, but they don't. But Diann possesses those qualities for growth, not only for her business, but for the relationship as well.
That's awesome. So I hear a woman with structure, and that's great because you definitely need that. I love that. And Miss Diann, what qualities did you like in Mr. Thomas Jones?
Uh-oh.
You ready for me?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. Here it comes.
Well,
Brace
one of the
yourself,
things...
people.
I'm sorry?
Said, brace yourselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I am. I'm holding on.
Hold on. No. One of the things that attracted me to him in the beginning and still does is how he's a man of purpose. When we went out for that first date, I already knew the NAACP Tom. I already knew the Monroe County United Tom. I already knew a lot about the advocate Tom and the activist Tom. And so I was clear on all of that, but I was not really clear on who Thomas Braxton Jones Jr. was. I wasn't clear on who Miss Laura gave birth to.
Wow.
So that was the conversation that we had when we went out to dinner. I said, I need you to act like an onion. I need to peel all these layers back. And I want to know who you are in the center. And what I found was a man of purpose. I found someone who was humble, someone who's genuine, someone he's very loving. He's very loving. He's even sensitive. And I love all of those things about him. I know out in these streets and everything, he has to be who he has to be because of his stature and his nature. But it's such a blessing to be able to get past all of that and just see the core center of who he is.
I think that's a beautiful thing because a lot of the times when we're out there and we're engaging in the community, like you said, Diann, we get to see the person that they play in their role. But who are you when you go behind closed doors in your home and you take off your clothes and you just want to be you? And like you said, he was able to find the sensitivity in him. And I think that's great because a lot of men, they put on that facade like they're just so tough. And it's like, no, I need to know the real you. So it's wonderful that you even trust her enough time to open up to her. I love that. I really do love that. And even though I asked you guys in the question, I asked you guys, are you in business together? You said no, but I do know one thing, that you are doing something together. Can you please tell the audience, what are you doing together?
I think she's talking about that Monday night show. What you
think?
Oh, the Monday night radio broadcast. Yeah, we are doing that together.
Oh, wow.
And that was interesting because, being that she was into getting her business together, and I asked her to come on to be my co-host, there was a little pushback, I got this to do and I got that to do, but
I'm busy.
But once she got a taste of the camera and the microphone, it was over, man. You couldn't keep her away from that. Next thing you knew, she was like, so what are we doing this week? Oh, let me put this up and advertise. I was like, wait a minute, what happened to you not going to be here every night, But she took on that, and I have to say she's great, with it. It definitely, people that seen the show felt that she had complimented, me as the host on the show, and she's been on there, and we make a great combination, and we're looking to, I don't want to put it out there yet, but we'll probably be changing venues. If things work out right, we'll be going from radio to TV.
Nice. That's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to that. And yes, I do have to say this, Diann, you came a long way. I love your transformation, how, now, like you said, I want to be in front of the camera. Before you're like, I'm not ready for that.
I ain't trying to be in front of nobody's camera.
it's interesting how she says, I'm not ready to be in front of the camera. And every Monday she goes, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Our Community and You with Tom Jones. And I go,
well, that's because now that my name is on it, I have to make sure that I present it in a way that reflects positivity for both of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're both representing one another. So I think that's a dynamic thing. And one thing that I heard what Tom said, he was already out there. Tom was already, his face was out there. But I think it's wonderful that, he planted that seed in you. And again, look at the transformation. You're blossoming. It looks good on you, Diann. So I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So, Manny, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. And by the way, Diann, I wanted to kind of jump in there and say you really dropped the jewel on everybody by saying you wanted to see another side of Tom versus what you've seen previously. I think that's really the thing that a lot of people should take note on, just knowing about your better half. Absolutely. But I do wanted to kind of like implement something here. Like, we're doing this Power Couple series, and we chose you two as a power couple. So tell us in your words, what does it mean to you?
Well, for me, being a power couple encompasses two people who definitely complement each other, who motivate each other. They definitely have each other's backs, have their best interests at heart. It's a situation where he may be down for whatever reason, but the reason doesn't matter, because when one of us is down, the other one is right there, joining on the spot to pick the other person up.
Okay.
Spiritually speaking, we're both of the same faith, so we definitely pray for each other as well as with each other, which for me, extremely important. That's another thing, as a matter of fact, that I love about him, is the fact that he has no problem just praying for my family, praying for me, praying over himself, his life. And you're probably the only person I've ever been with who's done that. Now that I think about it.
Wow.
Really?
That's powerful.
Huge. I mean, I take my faith seriously in my relationship with God, because at the end of the day, it's about relationship, right? And I take my relationship with God very seriously. And I can remember times where I've had to compromise it, if you will, because I was with a specific person or whatever the case may be, but not when it comes to Mr. Jones here. So being a power couple was definitely, though I feel like it's those attributes.
Nice.
That's great. That's great. I mean, that, again, you dropped another jewel on everybody. Whereas the Bible talks about being equally yoked, which you just could have said in so many words. So you knew that Tom was equally on par with his faith as with yours, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So it's always very, very key on, you should always be in tune with each other spiritually. I always tell people this all the time. Is he going to church? Does he read the word? Blah, 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 blah. So I always tell people you should always, that's the top of your foundation.
Absolutely. And not to interrupt you, but I wouldn't even ask the questions quite that way, because that's yes or no questions. I would go something like, tell me about your relationship with God.
So you just constantly just throw jibs in there, whereas you're not looking to trip him up, but you want to see where his headspace is, right?
Absolutely. And with him, I didn't even have to do it. I think it was one of those things where spiritually, God had already told me, okay, he definitely has a relationship with me, so that you don't have to worry about. And I see it. I see it in his mannerism, his demeanor.
Well, I think at the beginning of any relationship, that cards should be on the table. You should just come out and say what you're about and who you are. And Diann kind of said it at the beginning when we first went out, that she wanted me to peel back that onion and find out, exactly the inner person who Tom Jones really was. You see what I'm saying? And as you're older, it's important that you be transparent and that you be truthful in order to find out, do both of y'all have anything that's in common, that you can do. But, being a power couple, probably the biggest thing is respect that you have to have for one another. And I say that because being, especially like me and Diann has, her thing that she's doing with the coaching, with the divorce nature, and I'm more of the community activist. So we have to be able to respect each other's areas, and not only do we respect it, but we complement it because we share our how our professions with one another, with what we do. And we ask each other for help, or if we are thinking about, hey, baby, you think this will be okay? Or should I do it this way? What do you think about what I just finished writing? To get confirmation. It's important that power couples be able to share whatever they're doing with one another, and respect each other's areas, and then support. Support is really a big thing, being there with them as they're actually performing or doing what they're doing. So being a power couple can go really a lot of things, because it's about the areas that you are administering and implementing. Do you have your significant other that's always going to be there supporting you regardless of what they're doing? So, to be called a power couple, the thing is, are you all both on the same page with one another?
Absolutely. I love that response. And Tom, you said something, and I'm going to add something to it, because you were just saying the dynamics, what a power couple is. So one of my questions to you is, can you give an example how you two complement each other in the areas that you work, like, as far as like the support? Can you give an example?
Well, I know it was some months ago, and I think she was putting together her dialogue, how she wanted to present it. And I think it was maybe about a good 3 or 4 pages long, and I read it, and I tried to put myself in a man's position more so than a woman's position. And as I read it, it hit me to whereas, wow, this could be for men as well, on opposed to women. So I had to question her and say, wait a minute, don't you think that men could do this as well as, we had this conversation, which I still think that men can be part of what she's doing, because they kind of go through the same thing. I know a lot of people don't recognize that men can have those type of downfalls of these issues, but they do. I'm a witness to that. That's why I was so able to cling to what she had put in writing, and I think a lot of men could use it as well. But you have to be able to do that for one another, just like, I do the same thing for my radio broadcast, which I have my pieces. Sometime I want to pass it off to her and say, what do you think? How you think the audience is going to respond to it? Those are the things that, again, those are probably the small ingredients.
Right.
Builds it up to you becoming a power couple, because when you're listening to one another and you're encouraging one another, and as well as empowering one another.
Ooh, listening, that part.
Yeah, that's big.
That's important.
Yep.
Right.
And just to clarify what that thing is, I'm a life coach, and I support divorced Christian women.
Did I say thing?
On their journey of rediscovering who they are. So I was putting together the pieces of a signature program that I actually just launched. And I asked him to just go over it for me, just to, figure out from a male perspective of what it would be like. And he's right. He immediately said, well, don't you think men could do this program as well? And then initially I was like, well, I'm supporting the women, so I'm not really. But God actually gave me confirmation for that with another gentleman, somebody I don't even know.
Mm-hmm. I had something to say about that one.
So, but he was merely there for confirmation. God just used him as a vessel.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just a vessel.
Just a vessel.
There's phone number yet, but it's okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny. I love how you have the respect and kindness from one another. I think that's very imperative in a relationship because coming out of, previous relationships like myself, and I'm sure you and I can all relate because we've been all divorced before, that sometimes you've been so used to abrasiveness. So when someone approaches you with kindness and love and they tackle your flaws with kindness and love, I think that gives you a whole different dynamic on how you look at that person. Is that how the two of you feel towards one another?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It does do that, but you have to allow yourself to accept that.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times we're so used to the abrasiveness that when somebody comes at us the way that we always want it, it's like, wait, whoa, what you doing? What's your motive?
Yeah.
What's your motivation?
Yeah, and that, and yeah, it's true because you're kind of like snake bitten, from the previous one, and you don't know how this is going to be. You want it to be and turn into something, but you see what I'm saying? And you're going like, okay, so I hope it's not this way, and I'm hoping for this because this is the way I really want to be, But after a while, you'll sense and you'll know it, and not only will you know it, you'll be able to feel it. And once you feel that person really loves you and is giving you that love and will go the extra mile for you, then you yourself will be able to say, you know what, this is it, because it doesn't feel like the previous one. It doesn't feel like I had before because I feel different.
That's good because a lot of people who've been in relationships, and unfortunately there have been people who've been in kind of toxic relationships, suffer from PTSD. So It's very interesting that you talk about that because a lot of people kind of gloss over that. Be like, oh, I'm fine. And, I'm not comparing you to the last person, when in actuality, they sometimes inadvertently do such. Not saying it's a bad thing, not saying that you do it intentionally, but sometimes you just kind of like, okay, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Right. Are you sure this is what was coming on?
I think a lot of times what a lot of people do, and I try to share a lot with Diann. I try to be, transparent, and I give it to her, straight from the heart, even if things maybe pop up negatively from happened maybe a year or two ago, I express that, I let her know this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? And don't hold it inside because I don't want it to hinder our relationship, because technically it really has nothing to do with it, but it's something that I have to be able to confront to get past, but don't bring it in to my present relationship, which I love so much.
Absolutely.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. And I'm glad you shared that with us. Thank you, by the way. So I want to kind of pivot to the next question, kind of have something a little bit on the fun side. Tell us some fun facts about yourselves. Like, what are some of the fun facts that y'all like to do together, or, you see the other person do?
None. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. We've done, we like to do so many things. I mean, going out is probably, a lot.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah. And, the COVID really kind of stopped us from venturing out because the way we started the relationship, it was going just that way. We would go out. We wouldn't be in the Poconos. We'd either be in Allentown. We'd be in New York, Jersey. We were just having fun, going out, traveling, laughing, talking, telling jokes. And, it was really good before the pandemic, which the pandemic kind of like,
put a lid on things?
It could,
Put a lid on things?
Well, I wouldn't say it put a lid on it, because then we had to make adjustments and then do a lot of those things from home. You know what I'm saying? Which either watch a movie or, entertain one another, listen to some music, things of that nature, or go from one apartment to another apartment just to change the scenery, and pretty much have the same relationship and interact with one another. So she likes to be playful. She's tries to tell jokes. She doesn't know any though. I'm usually the one that tells the jokes, and then she laughs.
Me too.
You know, she's looking at me like, you know, I don't tell jokes. Yeah, she tells jokes, but you know, it's funny for me. I wouldn't ask her to tell jokes to anybody else.
You just told the whole world I ain't funny.
Listen, I didn't say no. She is
Why
funny.
you trying to make it think Diann ain't funny?
No, she is funny, but you know, she just like, you know, I mean, if she tells a joke like everybody, you know, why did the chicken cross the other side of the street, something like that, you know, it'll be so corny though. It'll come out corny.
But he tells the joke. Meanwhile, is why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah, okay.
But he tells jokes.
Oh my God, I can't. Yeah.
There was another question I wanted to ask you real quick. You mentioned something that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with her. Now, tell me something. I want to bring this to a very good point to everybody that's listening to us. What is important to you as far as being together? In other words, I'm not saying that marriage is the end game, even though it should be. What is it important? How is it important to you? And on top of that, like bring a significance to it.
Well, for me, and it's funny that you say not that marriage is the end game, although it should be, because when we when we first started dating each other and we were talking, I don't know if I said these exact same words that I'm about to say now, but I wasn't bored when we met. I was happy in my singleness. I was chilling. So I knew that whomever I was going to start dating with, I had to let them know there has to be an end game here. I'm not dating just to have something to do.
Gotcha.
Because again, I wasn't bored when when we first started out. Right. So I was not. So I think when two people decide that they're going to build a relationship with each other, there needs to be some type of common ground, and you need to discuss the end game. Why? Right. What are you two of you doing?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing it? I know what my end game is going to be. I believe he's well aware of what the end game is going to be as well. Not saying that, okay, 2021 is it. That's our year. If that's not what God is saying, and that's not what God is saying for us at that moment. But we both know that there has to be a goal.
There has to be a goal. I agree with that 100%.
I think
both of us, I mean, I could say this for both of us, but I could also give you my own personal experiences. I've done a lot of fooling around and wasting time and all this other stuff. We're done with that. I'm good.
Okay.
Time to be big boy, big girl and do the right things. So.
Mm-hmm. But I think, it's a period because naturally, we talked about this before, whereas we're still, we're at the ground level, mm-hmm. After a year and some months, and we still want to be able to build on that. With everything that's transpired in 2020, I just thank God that we were able to get through it the way we got through it. Some good, some bad, but we were able to lean on one another. And that's what's really big, how are you as a couple or as an item or as a power couple, how strong are you, or how strong is not only you are, but how strong is your faith is in one another as well as in God. So that's big. And we look forward down the road. I think we had this conversation a little bit last year based on what we're doing and where we want to go and where we want to move to and just build up. So when it gets to that point, everything's just going to happen simultaneously.
And I think that's a very important thing when your foundation is correct, right? Because all of us, we know the whole situation about building a house. You have to have a strong foundation so that your house does not fall apart when difficulties come. And it's the same thing with the relationship. If the foundation is not correct, the slightest little thing can cause it to fall apart. 2020 has shown all of us that if you're not, if your foundation is not solid, you can take all the things that have happened in 2020 and it can affect you in a very negative manner. And so even with us dating in 2020, God has shown us that, number one, we're on the right track. Number two, because our relationship is built on the foundation of God, it's built on solid ground. So we're going to be okay. And so that's very important as well.
Awesome answer. Kay, I know you got something you want to chime in, add into this.
Yes, I do, because you talk so much about marriage and, you pretty much laid it out. I was going to say, what does Black marriages does to the community?
Ooh.
Well, that's a question that I would like. That's almost something like I've written last week. I said, Martin Luther King had a dream, and what my dream would be consist of. And probably that would be the dream of Black community, Black marriages, and in a Black community itself. And I think when you can get that to happen, that's going to show strength. It's going to show stability. It's going to show growth, because that community already knows what the struggle is, and they're able to deal with that struggle based on past events, past experience. So because of those, they're going to make sure that they don't go back. They're going to make sure that they go forward. And in going forward, what are those things? Family values, okay? Respect for not only your family or other families, as far as the community, respecting the community. That's important too. So if you have a Black community and you have all those Black marriages, it's going to trickle down to our youth. To our kids. That's going to empower them to say, I have to get married. And because my parents was married, this is what they provided for me. And I want to provide this for my children. And that creates the cycle. But can we get that Black community that has those marriages that are going to enhance the community for a better tomorrow? That's my dream. If we can get a Black community that has those type of values, then you're going to see something probably that you never seen before, because that's the way that community, that's what we're talking about, the village. Okay, if we want to go there, we're talking about the village, because now that village is going to be able to grow like it used to be back in the day, because there was a lot more respect for each and every one of us in that community or in the project where I grew up. Whereas you don't have that today.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right about that, because you don't have that today. But you did say something that was very significant, where it's like you had examples growing up. What were your examples?
The examples, and I can tell you this, I'm straight on one of them. And as a kid or a little kid, we didn't like it. But your neighbors looked out for you. Mm-hmm. They were looking out that window, seeing what you were doing, if you was doing something right, if you was doing something wrong. And if you was doing something wrong, they would bring it to you, not only to you, but to your parents. So everybody looked out for everybody there. That was a village. Even the cops that were in the that were placed in the project at the time, which were housing police, if they caught you on the grass, you can run away from them, but they knew where you lived. They would come knock on the door. All right, we just seen your son. He was riding his bike down the center mall. He'd be like, if he does it again, and then your mother would scold you. So that was a village within a village that took care of itself, because everybody looked out for one another. It's not like that anymore. Right. And if we could get it back to that, instead of people saying, not my son, not my daughter, you can't tell me because I told them but you ain't home. So how do you know that it wasn't your son or wasn't your daughter? They're not angels, neither was I. You see what I'm saying? All we could do is beg Miss Brunson not to tell mommy, but Miss Brunson was going to tell mommy if Miss Brunson didn't hit me herself. You see what I'm saying? And then mommy was going to hit you after Miss Brunson hit you. But we can't do that today because things have changed. People either the kids are going to report you to social services, things of that nature, which kind of breaks the village down. and it's broken down. You see what I'm saying? Would I like to get it back? That's where I came when I started to answer this question, that I have a dream. I have a dream to put that back together. You see what I'm saying? But we have to do it together. Absolutely. That's how that's going to happen.
I think society has definitely gotten away from the whole meaning and structure of marriage. It's so much easier for two people to shack up together, right? Let's have a kid, let's just live together, and let's not even talk about marriage. But in order for Black marriage to not only come back on the map the way it needs to be and to be strong so that people can see it, we need to get that foundation back and get that true meaning back. My parents have been married for 55 years to each other. So that's what I know. That's what I've seen growing up. That's what I still see, right? So that's my example. So I know it's still out there. It still exists, but we just need to get back to that structure and that foundation, that it's not enough for two people to just live together. You know, let's show the Black community that Black marriages, number one, they still exist. They're still strong. Right. Mm-hmm. And that when we raise our children, they can see and understand, okay, this is what should be happening in our villages and in our communities.
Absolutely. And I want to say one thing, too, that I think that's imperative, too, with marriages, seeing a healthy marriage, because there are a lot of marriages that they should not have been, and it was crazy. And a lot of people feel, and I hate this when they say, oh, you stayed for the kids. Let me tell you something. When you stay for the kids, you are embezzling certain behaviors. You're saying we don't like one another, but we want to live one another. What do you think that does to your children? Your children say, I don't want to be married. If marriage is going to be like this, I don't want it. So for me, growing up, one thing that I loved was watching The Cosby Show. I just love how, even though it was a TV show, but it did something for me because they emulated healthy behaviors, and I just love the dynamic that they set up. So that was one thing, big thing for me, you know, back in the 80s and the 90s, and I love that part. And like you said, where is it at today? The only thing that I see today that I love, I'm going to say, is Barack and Michelle. And I'm going to be honest.
That's it. And see, even with that and the memoirs and stuff coming out.
That's the list. Yeah, that's the whole list right there.
But that's the problem.
But see, but see, people need to be able to use that as a stepping stone, because even though he was the president, you know, there were things that Michelle really didn't even want to be part of, and she didn't care for, and may have wanted to be really run out the door. But see, now that's where the power couple comes in as far as respect and support. You see what I'm saying? Even though they don't want it, but they know the other one does, that they support that one. You see what I'm saying? And that's where the marriages have to be able to elevate and say, okay, you know what? I may not like what Diann's doing, but Diann likes what she's doing, and I have to support Diann in doing that, and vice versa. But what happens today is they just turn around blatant and say, you know what? I don't like what you're doing, and you know what? I'm turning you off, and that is that, and that's the end of the relationship. And you be like, yo, what happened?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What was going? Oh, well, you wasn't on the same page with me, and I don't want you on the page no more. And you be like, but why? What did I do? Oh, it's just not working out. You know, so you get half the answers, you get excuses, but you don't get the real story, because they really, at the beginning, in my opinion, really, there was an agenda on one person and one person only, and not on both. So now, as we grow, because of those past relationships, we're able to say, this is what we want.
Absolutely.
This is what I want from Diann. This is what I'm looking for, Diann. Does Diann want the same thing that I'm looking for? Okay, what are we about? What are you doing, Diann? This is what I'm doing, and that's what. Do you like what I'm doing? You see what I'm saying? You have to be able to be transparent and be honest with one another. You know what I'm saying? In order for it to work, because unless you don't have a conscience and you want to turn around and make it fake, and you could go to sleep at night being fake,
right?
You know, God have mercy on you, because after a while that's going to catch up, you know, and the other person is going to find out and say, hold on, wait a minute, what are you doing?
Well, the truth
who
always
are
comes
they?
to light eventually anyway. So a person can be as fake as they want to. Eventually, it's going to come out. But just to go back on the healthiness of a relationship, healthiness does not mean you don't argue. It doesn't mean you don't disagree.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're walking around like you're in the separate community. That's not what it's about. It's being healthy is being able to have those quality conversations. And then when you have a disagreement, to be able to converse with each other so that you can, even if it ends up agreeing to disagree.
Right.
But you can still have that conversation and still be able to communicate with each other. Communication is key.
And it goes back to what I said earlier. You can argue with respect and kindness. See, a lot of people don't know how to argue. Like we said in the beginning, they have that abrasiveness because of what they was taught. So like we always say, like, your parents say, do as I say, not as I do. That's hard because we're going to emulate what we see. We can try our best not to do it, but again, when you give that structure, when you give that window, that picture, it's very hard to break that. But within over time, like you said, as you mature and as you go through certain things and you're doing self-development and you really focus on self, then that's when you can say, I really need to change. And then this come naturally. So it just sounds like you two, it just came naturally together. You was just on point of what both of you wanted. Is that correct?
I think it is correct. I had my own heart work that I had to do for myself.
Right.
I mean, I've been divorced. It'll be 6 years in January. And a lot of things that came from it, I had to heal and overcome all that stuff. So it was a journey for me. So God already knew if I would have met him, let's just say 8-9 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
I was still
I love that part. So we had a fantabulous time and we talked about a lot of serious key things. Now it's time to spice it up and have a little fun. So Manny and I have some questions for you guys.
Oh my!
Don't say uh-oh.
Yes.
Don't say uh-oh.
Wow,
Manny, you're going first. Manny, Diane's going to ask you some questions.
No, I'm going to ask Diann some questions.
Yes.
All right, Diann.
Mama, no.
You ready?
No.
Brace yourselves. Keep all hands and feet inside the ride. Here we go. All right. I have 5 questions for you.
Okay.
Question number 1. If Tom was going out with his friends, where would they go?
Oh, my goodness. Tom's circle is very small and very tight. So if he was going out with his friends, he would most likely want to take a little weekend getaway with the fellas, which I wouldn't have a problem with. But for the most part, hanging out at their homes.
Oh, really? Just doing everything at home?
Just chilling.
Number 2.
Yes.
Diann.
Yes.
What would you say is Tom's most prized possession?
Oh my gosh. You mean besides me and his daughter? Wow. Your most
besides you and his daughter.
Wow, that's a good question.
That's a good question for me too. I have to figure that one out. What's my prized
Your
possession?
most prized possession. I think his character is his most prized possession.
Okay, that's a great answer.
That's very important to him.
All right, now it's time to kick the hornet's nest a little bit. Yeah, is right. What would you say is Tom's most favorite female celebrity?
Oh.
Oops. Did I do that?
You did.
I'm waiting for her to say the right name if she could think of it.
I know. Oh my goodness. I can't think of her.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah, right. Which let me ask you this. Which one?
Okay, see, you trying to get in trouble behind the scenes.
I mean, I have
I can't think of her name.
I have a couple of celebrities that,
Your favorite one.
The top one.
Your number one. Like if you see her out in the street, you would just freeze up.
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
face, Kay?
I seen her in person too. My
Oh,
daughter was
word?
more excited than I was, huh?
You seen her in person?
Yeah.
Like right here?
She was Jay-Z. They were coming through the ramp. We were right above them. I mean, real close.
That don't count then.
No? Oh, you mean like as close as Diann is next to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Beyonce ain't doing that.
Oh, she ain't doing that. I haven't had no.
Keep her hands to herself.
The only one that I know that was probably close to me that probably got my eye, and that was years ago, and I probably still, a little something, was Susan Taylor, editor at that time of Essence Magazine.
Essence Magazine.
She was
Susan
really
Taylor?
Susan Taylor.
She was beautiful.
She's tall.
Yeah.
And I was moonlighting at the Apollo, and I was standing as she was coming up the aisle. Yeah, because I was doing security there.
Wow.
She came right up close to me and just stared me down. And I couldn't even open my mouth. And everybody was saying, well, Tom, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you ask her out? I was like, what I'm going to do, take her home on the A train or something? Because she was I was just I never thought she would get.
She all right.
You're in so trouble after this. You're in so much trouble. I can just see in her eyes. All right, last question. We're gonna let Kay ask you, Tom, some questions.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Last questions. Actually, we're going to let you finish the sentence, okay? All right. I wish Tom would stop.
Oh.
This one would be easy, but I'm waiting for her to say it. It would be easy for me to finish, but I'm going to wait for her to say it.
Let Mr. Diann say what she's saying.
I wish.
I'm listening. I can't wait to hear it.
Brace yourself, everyone.
I'm bracing myself, too.
I wish Tom would stop trying to be everything to everybody because he can't.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I know he wants to.
I didn't expect that answer, but that's
me neither. I didn't expect that either.
I know he wants to. But
gotcha. All right, Kay, your question.
All right. Thomas, you ready for me?
Not at all.
Okay, so the first question is, what dish does Diann prepare that she thinks you enjoy the most?
Probably, I would say.
Sitting up for this one?
Yeah, I would say fish. Really,
okay.
Catfish. Fried fish. She knows I like that. And she's close to a veggie somewhat. So
a veggie what?
That because she don't like pork.
Oh, vegetarian.
Vegetarian. So our meals are different. So she tries to make sure that whatever what she knows I like, she tries to prepare that for me. And I would say fish most of the time, catfish. Yeah.
Okay, so Diann, you know how to handle the fish area.
Yes.
Yeah, she's very fishy.
See, that's one of those inside corny jokes again, but that's okay.
Yeah, feel free when you do your modifications, feel free to cut that part out. Yeah, it's not needed.
I just thought that
not
would be
a chance.
All right, so question number 2.
Yes.
Which habit would you like Diann to break?
What habits?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my bulletproof vest on for this one.
Why are you looking at me like that? You're looking at me like that. You're like, you better answer this right.
You're in so much trouble after this.
Yeah, I know. Well, I would like her to pick up the phone when I call.
You say what now?
She busy.
Huh?
She busy. She gonna call you back.
I answer him.
Kay just said that. Said, "Oh, she busy. She gonna call you back because that's your line to me, baby. I was busy. I'll call you back." I be like, but when she call, I be like this. Hey, baby, what's up? Yeah, I could be in the middle of anything. Baby, what's up? She's texting me, say, "Baby, I'll call you right back."
I'm running a whole business,
Right.
Networking virtually and all this other stuff happening, interviews and everything.
Diann, we here.
It's not gonna work. No.
I get it.
Okay, yeah, that's because y'all and her are on the same page. Okay.
Yes, we here.
Yo, Manny, help me out, man.
I got you back, bro.
All right.
Trust me, I'm here right here with you.
2 more questions, then I'm gonna wrap this up. So the next one will be: is there a sport or a game that Diann is better at you at?
No.
Great
baseball, not basketball, not
Not
spades, not dominoes.
First of all,
not big whisk.
Yeah, first of all, she went to Maxwell High School. They didn't do too much there.
Stop it.
Nah, she I mean, we played I've done that spades, but what is that, Uno, and we have pretty much fun playing that in the whole nine. But as far as sports, she couldn't beat me, even with my one leg.
Sounds like a challenge.
She's gonna try when she get off the phone, but it ain't gonna work.
All right. I got one more question for you, Tom.
I hope. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
Here
if
we go.
you had to describe Diann out of one of these drinks, which one would it be? Will it be a Shirley Temple, a Cosmopolitan, or a Kamikaze?
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh.
Right.
Shirley Temple,
Yes.
Cosmopolitan.
Shirley Temple is basically non-alcoholic. It's grenadine and Coke.
Well, yeah.
She's pretty much a Shirley Temple,
Okay.
but every now and then she could go to a Kamikaze.
Oh boy.
Yes, because we can go from 0 to 100, so you know how we do. Yes.
Try to keep it real. She looking at me like, no, he didn't go there. I said, so she's a Shirley Temple, and then she's a Kamikaze.
I get you.
There is no middle, huh?
Yeah, it just go straight there.
Yo, there really is no gray area with me. I'm either black or white. You're so correct.
But see, that's the deal. But
You're
baby,
right.
baby, that's the deal.
What?
It's gotta either be black or white. It can't be in between.
Okay.
Like it says, you can't be lukewarm.
I understand.
Mhm.
We already
cold.
know that. Can't be lukewarm.
Right.
Either you hot or cold.
It's cold.
Mm-mm.
That's it.
Got you right there.
Mm-mm.
That was good, babe.
I'm gonna get beat up
Great
after
recovery.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah.
This. Good
Oh my
recovery.
God.
I commend him
Great
for that.
recovery.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. But
I
listen,
see what you did there.
we had so much fun together. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you two taking the time to be with us, me and Manny, today. Before we wrap up and we leave, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience?
Anything you'd like to promote?
Well, we're going right now. I'm just like I said. We're waiting to probably the beginning of the year to find out, if the TV deal is going to come through with Our Community and You with Tom Jones, which is now a radio broadcast. But we pretty much thank you for this interview.
I got something to promote.
And she will. She has her business.
I
She
got
wants
it.
to.
I got it.
I ain't finished though.
Okay, well, go ahead.
No, I'm not. No, she interrupted me. That's because she wanted to tell her business about right here. But being that she got me off my train of thought, we'll let you talk about your business. And see, I was going to talk about PowerCouple, period. But go ahead.
You sure?
See, that's how a PowerCouple is. I turned around, took myself off the stage,
That's
and
right.
I gave it to her.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Now, being that I did that, I figured I'd ease it. Let me go ahead.
Well, what we didn't talk about was that with me being the co-host on Our Community and You with Tom Jones, it gave me actually the courage to step out and start a show of my own and create a platform of my own. So as a result, I now have a Facebook show called Getting Real and Raw About Divorce. And that airs every Wednesday night. It streams live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's a great show. I've been having different guests, different divorced Christian women on there, just sharing their story and giving their testimony about how they've gotten from out of that season and how they have gone into the next season. So I'm really looking forward to continuing with that. I'm currently looking for guests for 2021. And I'm just going to continue with it as long as God sees fit. And just talking about what we talked about earlier, I have a signature program that I'm starting called Rediscovering You. That's a 12-week program for women who want to finally take their journey from where they are now to rediscover who they are so that they can live with intention and live the life that God has them to live anyway. A lot of us come out of our marriages and either we didn't know who we were in the marriage because we didn't know who we were before we got married. Mm-hmm. Or we're in a situation or in a space of, okay, I'm divorced, now what? Right. And so it's going to be a support system for those women as well. So I'm really looking forward to what God is going to do in 2021, not just in my business, but in my life and in this man's life as well.
Yeah, and I just want to say that to everyone else out there, to either other power couples who may think they're a power couple or those who just want the relationships, that when you both meet and you sit down and you have that initial conversation, be honest with one another, be transparent, be able to respect one another enough to say, this is what I'm all about and this is what I'm looking for. And if it doesn't work out to whereas that's what you are not looking for, then take it as a blessing. Mm-hmm. More so than say, oh, how come she just didn't like? No, take it as a blessing, and you need to be able to move on till you find that person that's going to help you find that common ground with one another.
That was excellent, Tom. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So everyone, we are going to wrap it up. We thank you for tuning in for Kay and Manny. Continue to watch us next Saturday at 11 a.m. And everyone, you have a wonderful day.
Stay safe out there.
All right. Bye-bye. Nice meeting you, Manny.
Take care now.
All right.
Lady Kay.